So let's talk about horror or scary video games. This is not meant to be a part of a Halloween series or anything like that, because otherwise I would have done this earlier. But I was watching a new review that Spoony did as that was meant to be part of a Halloween series. A video game I've never heard of. In fact, I wouldn't be too surprised if nobody's really heard of it. The Ring, Realm of Terror, I believe it was on the Dreamcast. I never had a Dreamcast when I was growing up. I might have wanted one if there were games on it that I was interested in, but anyway. And he went on a long list, and he did a lot of Resident Evil bashing, and and was kind of talking about what makes a video game scary, and then actually went on a list about video games that were very popular and that were very well known for being actually very scary with atmosphere and good scares and a good story and and characters and combat and gameplay and such. But he really kept on bashing on Resident Evil. Now, I will say, Resident Evil 1 does not hold up very well. The voice acting is god-awful. At least the original Resident Evil is still very god-awful. I haven't really played the remake recently. I mean, I played it, obviously, after it first came out, and I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was awesome. I might have enjoyed it a little bit more if for certain aspects. But I want to talk about something very specific. What really defines or really how would you describe, or need to think of a better way to say this, what makes a horror game or a survival horror game to you? Because there are a lot of different types of games that could certainly qualify as being a survival horror or just a horror game in general. Now, I played Resident Evil when it was later ported over to the N64 because I never got a PlayStation originally. I had a Nintendo growing up, and that was the system that we stuck with until I was older, and I could just buy any system that I wanted. So I, of course, played a lot of Resident Evil 2, and I would probably consider Resident Evil 2 to be my favorite in the series. I really loved 3, but I never beat it. I came close, but not that close. And Resident Evil 2 was just so much better in terms of, I will admit that I thought the voice acting for Part 2 was certainly better. Obviously, I will admit, now I haven't played Part 2 in a long time. Actually, I played it probably some time ago when I downloaded it for PlayStation 3, but I had to buy it on disc because if you buy it digitally, you can't play Claire's game. So that was a nice waste of money. Thanks, Sony. Assholes. But anyway, Resident Evil 2, I certainly consider to be far more superior, and especially when you go back and you look at the original Resident Evil. Good God, the dialogue was terrible. Wow, you almost ended up a Jill sandwich. Such terrible dialogue. And the voice acting was, oh God, it was terrible. And then there was, of course, the in-game live action movie scenes that they had. Why? Oh well. That's the past. And certainly Resident Evil, since then, obviously, has certainly changed and evolved. I stopped caring about Resident Evil by about 5. 5 I really didn't like all that much. 6, I really didn't care. I might still rent it. I don't know. But I have a little mini collection of games that I'm going to talk about here. Certainly games in my collection that obviously a lot of other people would consider, at least in the horror genre. Like, for example, another game made by Capcom, Onimusha, Unfortunately, the first Onimusha game was the only one in the series that I actually played and really enjoyed. Obviously, there's really no scares or anything like that. It's you fighting demons and undead, but it certainly has a lot of horror atmosphere to it, and and it's just all around a good game. As many people hopefully remember, this is back when Capcom, actually liked to make good games. And we have this one, Doom 3. This is the limited collector's edition which comes with the original Dooms 1 and 2. I played Doom 3 when it first came out, and I did like it. I mean, I still like it. I am able to recognize the fact that this game has the idiotic mechanic of what a lot of people have dubbed the monster in the closet. And yes, that is stupid. In fact, when I first played this game, that did scare me. But what I utterly hated about this game when I first played it, as I'm sure everybody did, was that you couldn't hold a flashlight and your gun at the same time. You had to switch. And I even remember saying to my friends after I played it, why can't you duct tape your flashlight to your gun? That makes no sense. This is the future. But yeah, once you get past the monster in the closet thing, the game is really not scary at all. At least, the controls and the shooting and a lot of that, they are fun. It's not really scary, but I did still enjoy it, and I enjoyed the Resurrection of Evil expansion. But yeah, Doom 3. Yeah, I still like it, and I hope there are people out there who do like it. I mean, I can't imagine that there are a lot of people who will go so far as to say, "Oh, Doom 3 is a great game," and I'm not saying it's a great game. It does have a lot of problems. It did do a lot of stupid things, but I still found it enjoyable. At least as a game, at least it's fun and you can play it. It's not a game that crashes on you all the time, or you have to suffer through terrible loading screens or incredibly cheap deaths. So, here's another one, and I haven't played this one in a while either, but when I first played it, I did like it. I don't really remember, though, if I considered this game to be scary, though, when I first played it. It was certainly very interesting in what it was trying to do. I loved the fact, I still love the fact that this game took the idea of creating these monsters who were the representations of the way that they died, and then having multiples of them, and then seeing flashbacks of these people being killed in this way, and then that the various bosses were also representations of the way that they died. And that certainly made for a very interesting representation of horror. I do remember, though, the one thing I did not like about this game was the ending, because this was another game that had that, choose your path sort of thing. Like, will you be evil or will you be good? Where when you meet other characters who will tag along with you in the game and they'll help you out, you can help them out. And the game puts this demon voice in your head, along with the morality voice of your wife. It's telling you to do the right thing, and then there's the demon voice going, "You should kill him." And, and there's this morality thing that's meant to affect the ending, and I can't remember if I played through in either morality or evil, but I remember I think I played it about halfway, where I was sort of good and sort of evil, and the ending was about the same. It made me go, well, that was pointless. Again, the illusion of choice. But still, a good game. Very good. I didn't play the sequel. I remember I played the demo, but I've never actually officially played the entire sequel. I would like to, though. Well, there are a lot of games I need to get back into that I've just never gotten around to playing again. Obviously, another classic that needs to be mentioned, and good God, this is a game series that needs to get back to its roots, especially after what they did for it recently on the PSP. And yes, I do own the original, but I own it digitally on PlayStation. God. I'm trying to remember if I played Silent Hill 1 first or if I played Part 2. I think I played 1 before I played 2. And I remember hearing a lot about 2 and never hearing about it. And every one of my friends telling me, oh man, that game is terrifying. I remember there was this scene, and I was like walking down this hallway, and I'd hear this sound, I'd be like, what the hell is that? And I'd be pointing my gun, and there was nothing there. The game screws with you, man. And it kind of does. And the game, good God, you want to talk about a good, classic, great idea for a horror game. This, psychological horror especially, a game that is just able to take atmosphere and ambience and sound and music and all of that and really just be able to create this world and make it feel real. Like when you are in a abandoned apartment building and there's no sound and all you're hearing is the sound of your own footsteps, and you have your little flashlight, and every time you hear like the slightest sort of a creepy noise, be it a voice or a door opening or a creak or a footstep, you get nervous. And then there are times where the game will just randomly throw out these little noises. Like I remember, I think when I was first playing it, I was near the end. I was probably on the last level. I was going up the stairs. I was trying to get to the last area of the game. And I heard the voice, spoilers, by the way, spoiler warning. I heard the voice of the voice of my wife that I was looking for. She whispered out my name. And it was like, whoa. It was creepy. And, and then, before the game came out, reading up on it, reading interviews of the people that were making it, and like everything that they were doing for it, and probably the best game in the series, in my opinion, probably in everybody's opinion, really, on Silent Hill. I loved Silent Hill 1. I loved Silent Hill 2. I haven't replayed Silent Hill 3 in a long time. I mean, I think I would still like it. At least I hope I would. I certainly remember enjoying the story of it and the conclusion. Silent Hill 4 had a good idea. At least what I originally read was going to be the idea. I remember the idea for Part 4 being that everything was going to be first person. All of it. And I remember thinking, oh man, that'll be really fucking scary. But the only time the game's in first person is when you're in the apartment. And the only time the game is scary is when you're in the apartment. That's the only time it's scary. The rest of the time, everything is well lit. You can see everything. There's no ambience. But bear in mind, that wasn't supposed to be a Silent Hill game originally. It was supposed to be something else. But then they decided, let's call it Silent Hill 4, The Room. And then it'll sell. But people saw through it, and not a lot of people liked it. Well, it is hard to like a game that's not really part of a game series. And then you have another game that a lot of people love. I'm not sure really how obscure, or at least I hope that this game is not too obscure. It took me a long time to get this game back into my collection. You want to talk about a good game that unfortunately is really, I guess, maybe not that well known, but it certainly deserves to be. And this is a game that had a really interesting idea and mechanic to it. And of course, for those people that have played it, it's the fact that you have a sanity meter. And that when your sanity completely depletes, the game fucks with you. Either you randomly die, or just something random happens, but it's not real. It's just there to fuck with you. The weirdest one I had, I was saving my game, and in the middle of saving it, the game suddenly sent me a message saying, "Your save has been deleted." What? And then it turned out like, no, this isn't real! And the voice acting, and the game, I mean, I haven't played it recently, but I've seen, some old footage of it from people playing it online, or from reviewers just talking about it. It still looks good. I mean, I will admit, the game is probably still held back by an old combat mechanic, in that depending on the size of the room that you're in and wherever said monster is, and whichever part of their body that you aim for to try to attack, that if your weapon is too long, or if you're in a very cramped room, your weapon's going to hit a wall and you'll be blocked, and then you won't be able to hit them. And then I remember the magic mechanic could be a bit of a pain sometimes, depending on what sort of a spell you were trying to cast, or how powerful said spell was you were trying to cast, because sometimes it would take a while to cast. But again, this was a game that I never beat. I got about as far as getting to said Guardian, and I was never able to beat him. I kept on getting my ass kicked. I knew how I was supposed to beat him. I could just never time it right, and eventually I would run out of magic, and then I would die. So finally, after a while, I just gave up. But I would love to play this game again. So there you go. But I would like to know exactly what you guys would consider certainly horror genre video games. I know there are a lot of others. There, of course, is the Fatal Frame series. I've only actually played one of those games, but I know there are a lot of other games that can be considered. But it just really bothered me when Spoony, just started bashing on Resident Evil. When, I mean, I'm not sure if Resident Evil was the first game series to do a survival horror type of genre for video games. Maybe they were the first ones to do it right, wherein everybody was really able to enjoy it and became popular because of that. I will admit there are aspects about the original game that don't work and just come off as being laughable and terrible. But it was certainly a series that I think deserves to be popular and where it is. I don't really consider the games that are coming out now to be all that worthwhile. And don't get me wrong, I thought 4 was great. I loved 4. I really didn't like 5. And I didn't like 5 for the reasons that people would think. I know there were a lot of people who claimed racism for 5. My argument was, you're in Africa. A good majority of the population in Africa is black. Wouldn't it be worse if all the zombies were white? Wouldn't you then be asking, well, where are all the black people? But then again, I suppose a proper answer would be, all the white zombies ate them? I don't know. But there you go. That's just me just throwing out my opinion about various classic games, obviously, that deserve the title of being in the horror genre, and games that I don't think really deserve to be bashed and said, like, that game was a piece of shit. No, it wasn't. It was good. It was. But, there you go. So, there you go. I would love to hear you guys' opinions on what you guys think. So, see ya.